Hi, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. This week we are continuing with our Learn Tarot with Me series, and we are continuing our deep dive through the major arcana. And today is the turn of the Justice card. So the Justice card is the number 11 card. Confusingly, in some decks it's actually the number 8 card, and strength and justice are actually reversed. So I'm not going to go into the reasons of that right now because, to be honest, that's something I've never fully understood. It's weird. It's like I feel that in my psyche I understand, but it's very hard to explain. So let's stick with just talking about the Justice card. You know, as I do these videos, as I do more and more of these videos, it's really helping me to understand the way that I read and the way that I intuit and the way that I receive information. And a lot of it is literally like a bodily sensation, like a way of feeling, right? And yeah, so I'll leave it there because I could waffle forever. The Justice card. So the Justice card is number 11, and we can see that there is a woman sat on a throne. She's in that kind of red regal outfit again that we saw the Emperor wear, and which we also saw the Hierophant wear, which I think the Magician also wears. So if you want to go back and look at past videos to see just what characters are wearing this deep red, you may find that useful, because I feel like this deep red really signifies a kind of royalty. It really signifies a divinity, a regalness, right? It's a very plush, very rich colour. And this cloak that she's wearing, I mean, look at it, like it is full on. It looks like it might be like velvet or something, right? There's been no expense spared when it comes to her outfit. And behind her, we can also see that she's like got this red cloak behind her. There's this little bit of yellow. We have these two pillars, which are something that we see in tarot a lot. I'm thinking of the High Priestess, which was a few videos back, where she also has those two pillars, right, representing duality. And it's very important in the Justice card because we can see that she has a sword in one hand and scales in the other. And so this is talking about fairness, and this is talking about balance. So I think when you look at like the courts of justice in London, or if you look at courts of justice anywhere, I think there is this symbol of actual justice, right? This is Lady Justice, and that symbol is used a lot. It probably comes from like Greece. It probably comes from like ancient Greece, but I'm not entirely sure. Look that up. But this symbol of a woman with scales and a sword is used a lot. It denotes justice, like out in the real world, and it denotes justice in the tarot. It's about balance, right? It's about knowing when to lead with a sword, right? Knowing when to fight for what's right, and knowing when to maintain a kind of equilibrium. Okay, justice knows that sometimes you fight, sometimes you talk, sometimes you fight, sometimes you let things go. Okay, so justice, if we think about the meaning of the word justice, we can think about things like political institutions, right? We can think about things like when somebody has done something wrong and they have to be judged according to the law about whether they're going to go to prison or whether they're going to serve a different kind of sentence, okay? So justice is very much that. In the tarot, it does represent legal things. So it can represent things like contracts. It can represent things like court dates. It can represent literally that legal judicial system that I've been talking about. It really can, right? But underneath that, the Justice card also represents divine order. It represents divine laws of the universe where things are always in balance, okay? That no matter what's going on, things are balancing, right? Even if it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Last week, we looked at the Wheel of Fortune card. We looked at the up, down, up, down, up, down nature of life. The Justice cards remind us that even though life is in flux and life goes up and down, it is ultimately balanced. Ultimately, that's what life is kind of supposed to do, okay? So the Justice card, when I read it, when it comes up in a reading for me, for someone, it's often about somebody that's had something been done wrong to them and it's righted. Okay, so say somebody treated you really badly. When this card comes up, it shows sometimes an apology coming your way, but more often than not, it shows that that situation is about to be righted. And that doesn't necessarily mean by the same person. So somebody may have been horrible to you, right? You may have faced the injustice of that because really it had nothing to do with you, right? So of course sometimes we can have arguments with people and there is an equal amount of responsibility. But sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there isn't an equal amount of responsibility, and sometimes you really well and truly are done hard by. And the justice card, if that then shows up, it means that that injustice is about to be corrected. And it's not necessarily going to be the same person. So as I was saying before I went off on a bit of a tangent, an example of this is as though somebody did you wrong, legitimately did you wrong. They're out of your life now. And then in a month, 6 months, 3 years, you meet somebody that comes into your life and heals it. Somebody that treats you so well that the injustices of the past are righted, even though it may not be righted by the same person, okay? So this justice card can also be used to denote karma, in the sense that what we do to others is always returned back to us. So if we are a really kind person and we've given a lot of ourselves and we've loved people a lot, that will always be returned to us, even if we face some injustices first. So the justice is a very soft card when I feel into the energy of it. It's a very soft card and it's a very heart-centered card because I think as human beings, we know when we've been treated unjustly. And one of the most important things for human beings is to feel as though justice is done, okay? If you think of the example of somebody's child being murdered, that's a bit of a harsh example, but it's coming to me. So if you think of the example of somebody's child being murdered, okay, what that person wants more than anything, other than, of course, for their child to come back, what they would want more than anything is for justice to be done. They would want the killer to face a just sentence, okay? So that's basically what this is. If we're looking at this in like a bit of a shadow side, okay, so if it was to come up reversed or if we were just to tap into that shadow side, then what I'm hearing is eye for an eye, right? So that term is from the Old Testament of the Bible. And it's the idea that if somebody does something to you, you do the same thing to them. That's not what this kind of justice is talking about, because that's actually not just, right? That's kind of two wrongs make a right, and that is corrected within the Bible. Old Testament is eye for an eye. The New Testament, after Christ has come into the world, is turn the other cheek, you know? Forgiveness. Do unto others as you do unto yourself. And that's the kind of justice that this card is talking about, okay? So it's the justice that we see through the court of law in this society anyway. So that example again of if like a person's child's been killed, this kind of justice is not that you go out and kill that person. This kind of justice is that you let it go through the courts, they spend their time in prison, right? So it can get a bit controversial. So I'm not going to get too deeply into that whole like criminal side of justice. I'm just trying to illustrate what this card means. This card, at its core, means feeling as though things are fair, that things are just, that things have worked out for the good of all, okay? So sometimes this can come up in a reading and it's telling us that things have worked out for the good of all, even if it doesn't necessarily feel like it, okay? So if we go to a breakup scenario, you've broken up with somebody, this card comes up, sure, it could mean they're going to apologise to you, but depending on all the other cards in the reading, what it could also mean is that that was the right thing, that that was the just thing, that that was right for you and the other person, okay? Those scales of justice are balanced, right? So it's number 11 card, so it's depicted here in like Roman numerals, so we have like the X and the 1, but if you think of the 11 as those two pillars, that 1, 1, there is this equalness, there is this balance, okay? And that's what the justice is about. So as I said last week, after we looked at the Wheel of Fortune last week, the number 10, as we continue through the major arcana, it does get deeper and deeper. And I feel like this card is highlighting that, because I could talk about it forever and ever, because there is so much to this, because this is such a real card. This is such a real tangible card. This is such a real tangible state that all of us will face in our lives on some level All of us know what it is to be treated fairly, and all of us know what it is to be treated unfairly. So this card is really important in the sense that it speaks to that. It speaks to that human need for justice. Okay? Oh, deep. Okay, I'm going to stop now because literally I could go on and on about the justice. I've never really spoken about justice before, this card before. I've never really tapped into what this energy means before, other than just like in a reading, but massively powerful energy. Okay? So, I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll see you again next week. I can't remember what the number 12 card is in the Major Arcana, sorry. But we'll look at it next week. All right, take care. Lots of love. Bye.